All right, good evening, everybody. It keeps saying that the connection is low, but I'm on my data, so I know it's not low. I got that 4G. Hey, Mama. So, welcome to the Friday Experience. Thank you for being here. Let me light my incense, because I will forget. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm excited for Peniel tomorrow. Peniel Community Fellowship. I know, so some of y'all say Peniel. Peniel. I can't even say how y'all say it. Peniel. 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 Peniel is Hebrew for face of God. Penny meaning face and El being the word for God. Peniel, face of God. Being able to see God, perceive God. That is what our service tomorrow is all about. We'll be blessing Kiki's baby. Woo! Yes, little Jamie. Little Jamie gonna get blessed. Hallelujah. Yes. That's right. Hallelujah. So we are so grateful. Man, the smoke is live today. Man, that looks beautiful. For those of you who are watching, glad to have you here. Those of you who observe, happy Sabbath. Those of you who are watching the pre-recording, God bless you. Let me share this real quick on Facebook, because I know I keep telling y'all you need to like the Friday Experience page. If you like the page, then you'll get the notification when I go live, so you don't have to depend on me sharing it. Right? You know, that's the way to go. So please like the Friday Experience page. Thank you for all you guys who've been giving Bibles and supplies. I really do appreciate it. It truly is a blessing. We will be going out to give the supplies out to the homeless March 31st. So those of you who are coming for Alumni Weekend, all my Oakwood heads, all my Oakwood alumni, Oakwood stand up. Oakwood, we out! For all my Oakwood heads, hey, what's up, Sheila? I tell you, Sheila is a faithful member. You know, she is here all the time. Now we just gotta work on her returning a tithe. And then I'm joking, Sheila. But all of our Oakwood heads, yeah, man, we're gonna be passing out supplies to the homeless on Alumni Weekend. So please come out if you are interested in helping your community. Man, Sheila, I hope your birthday was good. I know your birthday was good. You gotta let the community know, you know what I mean, that your birthday was popping. And let BJ know that we say happy birthday as well.
Happy birthday, BJ. That's today?
You know what I'm saying? Nah, his birthday was, I think it was yesterday. Either yesterday or the day before. You know, I don't know. But BJ is one of our homies. So listen, also, I know, we're about to get into this word for real, but I just want to get these announcements out the way real quick. I know, it sounds like church, right? But, you know, if you guys need prayer, if you have a Bible question, feel free to what's yesterday? Feel free to, like, hit me up. Like, you can inbox me. I'm not a stranger. I'm very approachable. Like, I am your pastor. I know y'all may think that's a gimmick. Some of you are not used to having a good pastor who actually prayed for you and is available. But that's what pastoring is about. You know, you don't have to go through my secretary. You can actually get in contact with me. Now, just because you hit me up doesn't mean I'm going to hit you back instantly, but I will respond. I definitely will. If you have questions, I will definitely do my best to answer them. So just hit me up. There's no reason for you to be walking through the week in any type of confusion or darkness when you have a pastor that is available. This is what I do. This is what I commit my life to. So if you need prayer and you don't know who to call, you should call me. You know what I mean? Like I said, even if I don't answer, leave me a message. And all my prayer requests I definitely honor for sure. I will get on my knees and I'll pray on your behalf. So keep that in mind. All right. So today's gonna be I think gonna be an awesome experience. We're continuing with the Joseph series, and if you are feeling the Joseph series, give me a thumbs up emoji. If you can't do emojis on your phone or whatever, if you're on your computer, then just type thumbs up. Or whatever the case is. But let me know that you're feeling the Joseph series.
You should have the Wakanda forever.
Oh yeah, man. Well, you know, everybody may not be from Wakanda, but if you're from Wakanda, you can throw that up as well if you are from Wakanda. If you're not from Wakanda, you're a colonizer. We love you. The grace of God is upon you. So let's get into this word, man. Genesis chapter 41. Joseph has been giving us a whole lot, man. Joseph has been giving us a whole lot. And I've been very excited going through this series. Today, I'm really, really excited because the Lord hit me with this word. And it's powerful, man. It's really, in my opinion, it's very, very powerful. So as you guys know, I tend to do a lot of talking. It is a discussion. So those of you who are watching on Facebook, even if you're watching the pre-recorded, feel free to leave your comments and your questions, and I will do my best to interact with you. I'm frozen? I'm not, Elsa. Feel free to leave a comment, and I'll do my best to interact with you. But all right, Genesis chapter 41. We're going to read. We're going to read 4 verses. Yep, we're going to read 4 verses. Genesis chapter 41. We're going to start at verse 46. Whoever's going to read, you can read verse 46, and then you can read 50 through 52. So read verse 46, and then read verses 50 through 52.
And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
You said 50, 52?
Yeah.
And unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of the famine came, which is the Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On bare unto us. Mm-hmm. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh. Mm-hmm. For God said, He hath made me forget all my toil in all my father's house. Mm-hmm. In the name of the second called Ephraim, mm-hmm. For God hath called me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction.
Amen. All right, very good. So, here, this is after Joseph got promoted. For those of you who have been following along, I won't go through the whole thing, but I'll go through a little bit. Joseph at this point has been promoted. He was a slave. He was a prisoner. And now he is second in command of all of Egypt. He has been promoted to a higher status. He has been promoted to a higher level. Hey, come on in. And it is now where he is walking in the greatness of his vision. Because ultimately, God gave him a vision. God showed him that he would be great. God showed him that the what you call it, the sun was, the stars was bowing down to him, and the wheat. Anyway, all this stuff that kind of was symbolizing his greatness, that he would be of a leadership position. Hey, hold on, God, I gotta pause real quick because it's amazing. Oh, I know why, because it's spring break. That's what it is. It all makes sense. There's joy in my heart. Y'all don't understand. Because she always comes through and I say amen at the end of the prayer. But she is here, y'all, for the word. I didn't call your name out, though. God is so good. Yeah. Look at God. I didn't say your name. I'm just saying you're here. And God is good. I'm sorry, y'all. All y'all who watch on YouTube and stuff, this is just, we families. Y'all just gotta get this. This is what happens, you know. When Right. You know. Anyway, okay, so getting back to the word. So Joseph got promoted. Joseph had a vision, a dream, and this dream came from God. God is the one who told Joseph that he would be great. It wasn't necessarily a goal. We don't get this idea that it was a goal of Joseph. What we get is God chose Joseph to be great, and he didn't have to apologize for that. But though he was called to be great, Joseph got into a lot of mess in his life. Some he probably could have prevented, but some it just happened. And it brought him to a really, really low place as far as position is concerned. But even in those low areas, we see Joseph prospering and being great, because that's who he was. Joseph is always great. That's just greatness oozed out of Joseph. So now finally Joseph's greatness, or Joseph's position, is finally matching his greatness. where he is second of all of Egypt. The only one that is above Joseph is Pharaoh. And I know we may not fully understand the glory of Egypt, at that time. We can get an idea of it because, and I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but when the famine hit, the known world went to Egypt for food. Like, that just lets you know, like, the glory of Egypt, how much power Egypt had, how much they were in control. So for Joseph to be, second only to Pharaoh, is a very, very high position. It's not a game. And Joseph got there because of his. Oh, you testifying or you got something to say? Oh, okay. Joseph got there not so much because of his work ethic, though that played a major part, but it was where he belonged. His work ethic matched where he belonged. Where he belonged matched his work ethic. He was always great, though he didn't have that spot that showed the world that he was great. And now he's at that spot because that spot was reserved for him. That space was not, it didn't even exist. That position that Joseph had didn't even exist until Joseph got into the scene. Go ahead, Queen.
I was going to say, what I just thought about just now was the fact that Joseph was not Egyptian.
That's right.
He was second in command in a nation that wasn't his.
Yeah. And that's actually very good because historically speaking, that would be very, very dangerous.
Very much
to put a foreigner in rulership position.
Yeah.
That is not, that normally happens only after warfare. So that's a very good observation, babe. I told y'all she's a scholar. My baby is a scholar, right? So now we get into the part where in Genesis 41, we read verse 46 and we read verses 50 through 53. And the point of the Joseph series is to express kind of what we go through in greatness. And at this point of the story, this is an interesting point in the story because some of us haven't reached this point yet that we're about to talk about with Joseph. Like many of us in our path to greatness, we know what it's like to be at the bottom. And some of us think that we're at the bottom. The funny thing about the bottom is you don't realize that you've hit, you think you're at the bottom until you get lower. And then you realize, oh, that wasn't the bottom. There's more to fall. You know what I mean? So, right. so it's weird how we have a tendency because for a lot of us, we're so, and it's not a shot. Y'all know I'm just straightforward, right? We're so spoiled that any type of discomfort feels like the bottom for a lot of us, and just because it's not comfortable or just because of the bad situation doesn't mean you're at the bottom. Like the bottom is a dark place. Like the bottom is where you literally have no control. The bottom is not a favorable spot. I mean, no one wants to be uncomfortable, but there's a difference. And it's like the lower you go, the more you realize what the bottom was. It's funny because you were complaining so much when you hit that so-called bottom, then when you get lower than that, you kind of want to go back to that last uncomfortable spot was a lot better than this new bottom that you just hit. You're like, let me go back to that. You know what I mean? So a lot of us, we can relate to not walking in our manifestation. But here in this story, Joseph has finally made it to the place. This is the beginning of his glory years, if you will. And I find it interesting that the Bible makes it clear that he stood before Pharaoh at 30 years old. I think that is something that we kind of overlook, that he stood before Pharaoh at 30. He got the dream as early as 17, but he stood before Pharaoh at 30. And the lesson here, so we're dealing with maturity. We're dealing with matured greatness. The reality is the time that God gives you the vision and the time of the manifestation of the vision is very, very distinct, very, very different. Because when you get the vision, that's the seed. And seed needs time to grow. So for Joseph's case, he got the vision at 17, but then he started to walk in that as far as its fulfillment at 30. So we're looking at 13 years before it actually happened. And for a lot of us, part of the reasons why we never make it to the manifestation part of our greatness is because we give up because we feel like it's taking too long. Wow. Like for a lot of us, it is, what's up, JJ? For a lot of us, it is because it's not happening as soon as we want it to happen, we quit. But I've learned through the story, through not just Joseph, but just through biblical history as a whole, God has a tendency to give you a vision, and then it'll take years before it actually manifests. And the thing is that it had nothing to do with age; it had everything to do with maturity. Some of us, most of us, I'll be completely honest, we're not mature enough to walk in the greatness that God showed us. We're not in a mature position. We would squander it. It's like a child that gets a lot of money. You know, if I could use myself as an example, right? Because I don't know none of y'all, and people tend to be very sensitive, so I'll use myself as an example, right? When I first went to college, I went to Hampton University. When I first went to Hampton, I was young. I was, 18, 19. I had my own apartment at 19 years old, a one-bedroom, mind you. I didn't have roommates. I had my own car, and then I had a whole lot of credit. And I was making a whole lot of money. Well, it wasn't real, but it was more than I needed. I was making more money than I needed. So I was going out to eat 3-4 times a day. I had like 7 or 8 credit cards at 19 years old, and I'm like splurging. I'm like going bananas, just boom. I'm like, what, $25 a month? That's all I gotta pay? Bet, just boom, and just going bananas. I was going like crazy. Me and Abby, I didn't know Abby knew how to cook for a long time because she didn't have to cook. We was going out to eat all the time, And now thinking about it, babe, we used to go out to eat for every meal. It wasn't like it was like one meal a day. Like every meal we were eating, but our rent was being paid, our utilities were being paid, our cable was being paid. And I mean, we had mad channels too. Cell phones being paid. So it was like I was balling out. And then now in my mature state, I'm thinking about all that money that was wasted because I had nothing to do with it. But I believe God did that on purpose. Because I learned at that time that I wasn't mature enough to handle the come up. Like I wasn't at a maturity level. It wasn't that God didn't want the come up for me. It's just I wasn't mature enough to handle the come up. And a lot of times God will give you the vision so you know where you're going, but it won't manifest until you go through that maturity state. So if we look at even Abraham, where Abraham got the vision or the promise of what was going to come in his life at 75, but the promise wasn't born until 99, 100 years old. Yeah. 25 years later until it finally manifests. And for many of us, our issue is we don't want to mature. We say, God, if this is for me, give it to me now. And God is saying, you're not ready for it now. You have to mature. Now, as a 31-year-old, I'm proud of my age. I'm 31 years old. I'm still young.
That's my bad.
There is a distinct difference between 17-year-old Lawrence and 31-year-old Lawrence. The level of growth that I have acquired is significantly different. Right. And it's not about age, but it has everything to do with maturity. And I think for a lot of us, what we don't realize is if we get the vision at 30, then it may not manifest till 40, 45. If we get the vision at 45, it may not manifest until 55, 60, 65. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you got the vision, then you still need a space for it to mature before it finally manifests. So while Joseph got, this is a discussion, so you guys are free to add at any moment, right? But while Joseph got the vision at 17, it didn't manifest till 13 years later. And in the process, Joseph went through a lot that matured him. Does that make sense? Yes. So it's very similar to like a tree, right? Because we're talking about the beginning now of Joseph's glory days, where some of us were still waiting for. It's very similar to like a tree. When you look at a tree, when you first plant the seed of a tree in the ground, it will be years before it bears fruit. But once it reaches the maturity to bear fruit, every season it will bear fruit. It's not going to be bearing fruit in gaps of years. Now it will bear fruit every season because it's reached a certain level of maturity. Does that make sense? So it's not as if you make it, because maturity is not perfection. Sometimes we look at maturity like you've reached a stage and you can't get any better than that. But that's not what maturity is. Maturity is you are at the prime position for production. That's maturity. When you are not at the prime position for production. So, for example, if we use the physical body, I'll use a male, right? I'll use a man, right? Oh, a man and women. A man will have sperm, a woman would have eggs, right? Well, for women it's different. They're born with it, but even though they're born with it, it doesn't fully yet mature until they reach a certain age. When they reach the age where their body says you are now able to carry life, that's the maturity stage. Does that mean that the woman stops growing? No. Doesn't mean she stops growing. It just means she's now at a position where she can be productive. And there's a point where she doesn't grow any taller, but it doesn't mean she doesn't grow. Like her body doesn't change. Her body's still growing, but she's just mature now where she can be productive. Same thing with a man. He develops his sperm at a certain age, and doesn't mean that the development stops. It's just he's reached a point of maturity where he can now be productive. And the body is still changing, but the changes the body makes is for productivity. The difference between immature and mature is your ability to produce. And some people look at immaturity like it's an insult, but it's not an insult. It's merely the stage that you're in. Some of us were just not mature yet. It doesn't mean you're evil, doesn't mean you're bad, doesn't mean the devil's on your back. It just means you have more growing to do. And when you finally get to the beginning of your maturity, you'll start to see your life become more productive. Now, the reasons why you're immature, that's a whole different conversation. But we can't look at children, or we can't look at immature people. Because even when a preacher will call someone young in the faith, they feel insulted. Like, how am I young in the faith? Like that was an insult. It's just dealing with your faith has not yet reached a certain level for productivity. So you just have to grow. Joseph had to grow. Abraham had to grow. Even Jesus. You see Jesus preaching in the temple at 12 years old, but he doesn't start his messianic work until he was 30. He had to reach a certain level of maturity before he went out there to produce. Is that everybody still with me? Okay, so in this phase where Joseph is now producing, he's now walking out in his greatness. The Bible says before the famine came, he had 2 kids. He had Manasseh, he had Ephraim, right? He had 2 kids, Manasseh and Ephraim. And the Bible says for Manasseh, he named that child Manasseh because the name Manasseh means that God has caused me to forget the troubles that I've had. The name Manasseh means God has caused me to forget the troubles that I had. And I want y'all to really get this because I want you to understand what is being said. That's right. Sheila said that's why age doesn't equate maturity. Joseph now is walking in his greatness, and there's a point in his maturity now where he gives birth to a son that represents his forgetting of his troubles. It's this child represents him finally letting go of all of the pain and the drama of his past. All the troubles of his past is now forgotten. And that is something that happens at the point of maturity. This is something that happens after Joseph walks into his greatness. And okay, so let me try to help bring it home. Because the issue is, for many of us, one of the things that's preventing us from walking into our greatness is our inability to let go of the troubles of the past. For many of us, the troubles of the past is like a part of our identity.
Mercy.
Everything that's happened to us and who we become because of what happened to us have become who we are. And sometimes holding on to these troubles, holding on to this pain is not beneficial for the greatness that God has for you. And there's a point where you have to let that go. You have to release it. You have to let it go. There's a point where the pain will go away. This idea that pain will never go away, that we have to learn how to deal with the pain of certain things that happened in our past, this is going to be hard for some of us, and I'm trying to tiptoe because I don't want to be insensitive, but it's going to be very hard for some of us to fully embrace, because some of us, we have pain that is so deep. We have like some real legitimate pain. We hurt in places that other people really don't understand. And when people try to say there's going to be a point where God will remove that pain, sometimes the pain literally distracts us from God's power to actually remove it. Like, we've been hurting for so long, and the hurt is so deep that we'd rather have pain management than pain removal. It's almost like, God, you don't even have to remove the pain. Just help me manage it. And God is like, I can help you manage it, but I want you to give birth to Manasseh. I want you to get to the point where you realize all that stuff, I can forget about it now. God had put me in a position where I don't have to be locked down from the things that happened to me in my past. God had finally put me in a position where I could literally forget all of the trouble and move forward. And that's good news. That is, that is good news for those of us who are legit hurting. Instead of us waiting to find a way to manage it, we can actually wait for the day that we give birth to Manasseh. We give birth to forgetting the pain. Oh man, Brother Hicks says, interesting. Perhaps David at 75 wasn't mature enough to listen to God to go up on the mountain and sacrifice Isaac until he was 90. Good word. That's a good word. He's still talking about the maturity. We have to be careful that we don't believe the lie that God cannot remove the pain. You know the issue with us? Because I want to bring it back into perspective. Joseph went through literally 13 years of hell. He was thrown in a pit by his brothers, only to get pulled out of the pit to be sold into slavery, only to be lied on and then thrown into prison.
Right. This level is just tripping off. He just get lower and lower and lower.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We can't diminish what Joseph went through. And then for Joseph now in his maturity to get to the point where he can say, look at God, I'm able to forget all of that. Many of us, it was a dream that we had, but because we didn't forget it after 5 years. And can I be honest with you? And this just dropped in my spirit. Some of us, the reason why we can't forget about our past is because we kept trying to ignore the past instead of actually dealing with it. Because Joseph didn't ignore his troubles. He went through his troubles with God. He didn't just try to push it away like, oh, this never happened and da-da-da-da. No, he went through it. And some of us, we want to forget it so bad that we don't even deal with it. 13 years is a long time to be going through some mess. And some of us, we've been going through some mess 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. For some of us, life has thrown us so many blows. It's like, God, when will it ever get easier? This word is to let you know, if you keep walking with God, if you keep persisting with God, there is a point where you will also give birth to Manasseh, where you will be at that place where you can say, wow, I can actually, you know what kind of power it takes for all that you've been through to finally be irrelevant for your future? Where you can finally say, none of that matters.
That's right.
Like all the people who betrayed me, all the people who walked out of me, all the broke nights, all the crying nights, none of that matters anymore. I'm free from that. You know what kind of power that is? And that's exactly what God is trying to do for us. He's trying to get us to a place where we can be free from all of our troubles. Does that make sense? I don't want to lose anything. All right, so, y'all can add anything whenever y'all want. It's cool. It's cool.
That's good because when I think about you talking about he gave birth to Manasseh, like that's why I named her Aaron. Because it means peace. And I was like, I felt like I had been going through so much that if God felt that I was strong enough to have another baby, then he must gonna be providing me something.
There you go.
There's some peace coming. Like there's something bigger and better than what was going on in my life at the time or what I felt like was going on.
That's right.
Well, that's good. That's powerful. All right, so he gave birth to Manasseh. He also gave birth to Ephraim. And Ephraim, according to this text, Ephraim means I was fruitful. God has called me to be fruitful through my afflictions. When we're going through things, sometimes it's very difficult to see how fruitful we are in the midst of our trials. Like we're doing things in the midst of our affliction. We're doing things in the middle of our pain. And sometimes we feel like what we're doing is not getting us anywhere. It feels like we're wasting our time, It's like I'm doing all of this, but nothing is coming from that. And Joseph can relate to that because you got to remember, Joseph was an awesome slave, and then he got lied on and was thrown into prison. And Joseph was a dope prisoner. He was in charge of all the prisoners. He gave one person good news, said, hey, you about to be set free. Don't forget about me. And the dude forgot about him. It's like,
you had one job.
Right. So Joseph can understand that. And I know for a fact God understands that, how we can go through so much. And it's like we're doing the right thing, but it's still nothing good is happening in the midst of all the right that we're doing. But But Joseph, we can see, we're reading the story, and we see how all the stuff that Joseph was doing was positioning him for this moment right here. In the midst of it, I don't think Joseph was able to see that. But now at the end of it, when he's walking in his greatness, he could look back and say, I've been fruitful the whole time. He gave birth to Ephraim. That is the matureness of his greatness. He's able to see the fruitfulness was not just in me gaining this position and me having this power, but I've been fruitful even in the midst of my afflictions. And I think sometimes, no, this is what I know. I don't think, this is what I know. Sometimes our afflictions can be so bad that we want to give up on the things that are actually fruitful for our lives. It's like, why keep going? Nothing getting any better. Nothing getting any easier. Why should I keep praying? Why should I keep fasting? Why should I keep giving? Why should I keep loving? Like, none of this stuff is producing anything. And what God is saying, see, while you're in the midst of it, you can't see it, but this is a vision of where you're going to where you can get to the point where you're now on the other side and you can say, wow, all of this was fruitfulness. Like, I was fruitful from the very beginning. I'll use a life story to kind of help you understand. So I stayed at an apartment complex in Huntsville. And I stayed in this apartment complex. I remember when we first got into the apartment complex, one of the things the Lord told me was we're not going to leave that apartment complex until we're ready to buy a house. Remember that, babe? And, you know, it's funny when the Lord tells you that, we like, all right, cool. Because in our minds, like, yeah, it's going to be a year or two, right? We're talking about now. We have to wait. Wow. But,
I'm pretty sure I was like Sarah and I laughed.
right. Like, we ain't gonna be here that long, right? Ended up being there much longer than we anticipated. But anyway, there was a point where we were living there. We changed apartments because, you know, our family was growing. We needed a bigger apartment. We needed a 3-bedroom. So we changed apartments. And when we changed apartments, we had to cross over utilities, right? So I called my utilities company, I crossed utilities over. And then I didn't get a bill. I never got a utility bill. Now I'm not one to call you if I owe you money. That's not something that I do. I gotta be, if I owe you money, you need to hit me up. Right? Cause I'm not I'll call you, like, you're my friend, you're my peoples, I'll call you. But if it's business, you know what I mean? And you say, okay, I'm gonna send you a bill, I'm not going to call you and say you haven't sent that bill. See, if we already worked out a number, then I'll pay you. But if it's like, okay, I'm going to bill you X amount, like, I'm going to send you a bill, I'm going to wait for that bill before you get any money, right? So 1 month went by, I didn't get a bill. What I did do, I called, I said, hey, I changed apartments to this address. Is that in your record? They said, yeah, it's in the record that you live. Cool, that's all I need to know. Thank you. Right. So a whole year went by when I didn't have to pay anything. At the end of the year, the apartment complex forgot to do their part to get the name changed. So they said, you're going to have to pay it back for that year. I said, I paid, y'all messed up. Like, that was y'all mistake. Y'all got to eat this. Like, y'all got to eat this. And the Lord said, no, pay them. And I'm like, this must be Jesus, because that's not me, right? Because it ain't me. So like, this must be God, because it ain't me. So I said, all right, I'll give you guys $100 a month. And they said, cool. Now I want y'all to catch the favor of the Lord. So I'm paying $100 extra on my rent, and now I'm paying utilities as well. And I'm like, this is some bull, because I ain't even mess up. This is some bull. But I'm gonna do what the Lord says. So 6 months after going in, we tried buying the house. And this house was actually $100 more than what our rent was. Those 6 months proved that we'll be able to manage the mortgage for this house. Not only that, but the apartment complex changed systems and lost the record of my debt. So they said, well, we'll just say it's clear, so we don't have any proof of how much you owe. So what God did was he set it up where I was able to prove that I can afford the better that's coming. But there's no way I could have seen that in the midst of the situation. There's no way I could have seen how being obedient to that would give me this. And sometimes God has a way of helping you be faithful in the midst of your afflictions. But it's not until you mature in your greatness that you realize that God had already set this thing up, that you've been fruitful from the beginning, and your obedience through all of the trials, through all of the drama, set you up for this great moment right here. When he gave birth to Ephraim, it wasn't that now he's been fruitful. It was a recognition that he's always been fruitful. And this is something that I want you guys to really get in your head. And this just dropped in my spirit. Because if you're not fruitful, if you're not, fruit begets fruit. Oh man. When we did the ID series, which was last year, we did a whole series on identity. And in Genesis, it talks about being fruitful and multiplying. It also talks about how they were only supposed to eat fruit, because what they were digesting was a reflection of who they were. They were to be fruitful, and therefore they were eating fruit as a reminder of their fruitfulness. Because you're either fruitful or you're not fruitful. See, no matter how long a vegetable grows, it'll never become a fruit. Because that's not what it is. It's not a fruit. It's a vegetable. No matter how long a chicken grows up, it'll never become a cow. You know what I mean? Like, what you are is what you are. And if God has called you to be fruitful, then you will be fruitful. Does that make sense? If you're called to be fruitful, you can't allow the circumstance to determine when you're fruitful. Our issue is we are fruitful because God created us to be fruitful. And just because you don't see the results of your fruitfulness doesn't mean that you're not being fruitful. Anytime you're doing what God has called you to do, anytime you're walking in the purpose that God created for you, anytime you make a decision that's going to help make your life better, make the community better, anytime you are reflecting the glory of God, you are being fruitful. And sometimes you have to wait until everything lightens up for you to see how fruitful you actually were. And in this moment, after Joseph walks into his greatness, and now he's in position, and now he's calling shots, and now everybody's looking at him, it's at this moment he realizes, wait a minute, this is nothing new. I've been like this since my affliction. And that's who Ephraim represents. Ephraim represents a recognition of a fruitfulness during the time of affliction. Because you'll never reach your greatness if you can't be fruitful in your low seasons. Go ahead, Ben.
I just wanted to highlight how Joseph decided to choose life, which is, he chose to strive after God still, even in the midst of it. Which is like us making the decision to choose life, choose those things that keep producing life,
right.
Choose those things that help put you in a better mindset, help encourage you, prayer and this, that, and the third, versus, having versus, rejecting those things and just wanting to have a pity party and be in a sunken place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Choosing death, being in a vegetative state.
Absolutely. Ooh, that's powerful. Choosing life. And this is, are you about to raise your hand? Because this here, like I said, some of us were not here yet, but this is to give you hope to not quit in your faithfulness. Because in your faithfulness comes your fruitfulness. And if you continue, one day you too will give birth to Ephraim. There'll be a point where you're on the other side. I think sometimes we forget that the other side is coming. We've been walking and in this journey for so long that we forget that we're actually going somewhere. And that we're not on a treadmill. You got to get the metaphor, right? Like a treadmill, you're walking, but you ain't going nowhere. No, you're sweating and you're burning calories and you might even look better, but you're the same place you got on is where you're getting off. We're not on a treadmill. We're on a journey. And at some point, we're going to get to where we're going. As long as you keep going. As long as you don't lose faith. As long as you stay faithful and stay fruitful. Y'all got anything to add before we start meditating? Because this is the path to greatness. What are we talking about?
That's good. I was just thinking, because I was just talking to Mama. I look at my life sometimes, I'm like, if I didn't know any better, I would think that I had a poor work ethic. Like I didn't like to work or I wasn't a hard worker, although no matter where I work, I give it my all.
Yeah.
And I recognize, but it's like, what am I doing that's wrong? But this is letting me know, like, I'm on the right path. Like, because if I didn't have the work ethic that I do have, then I would never be able to come out of anything.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah,
I'll always stay in the pit. But obviously, I have something that allows me to, come out of it.
Yeah.
So this is a good word because it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I gotta stop being so hard on myself.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I
think we've been trained that way though.
Oh,
to be hard on yourself. Like if there is like we were having a discussion last Saturday night. Worldwide, there's like a pattern that people ascribe success to.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing this, okay, you're going to go to elementary school, you're going to go to the middle school, you're going to go to high school, you're going to go to college, and then you're going to be picked up or create this job, and then you're going to go and then you're going to be successful.
Right.
For you to leave high school or middle school and be an entrepreneur and to be successful, that's a shot in the dark.
Right.
That's not the way to do it.
Right.
So we're indoctrinated to think that there's a pattern.
I agree.
For everybody.
I agree.
And everybody didn't have that pattern. Like when I was first separated this time, my girlfriend said to me, "Who are you to sit at home and to not have to go to work?" And I was like, That's not me. Right. I'm obedient to what God told me to do. She was like, I've been working since I was 19.
Right.
Doing this and doing that and whatever it is. And I was like, okay, well, that's your journey.
Right.
My rent is paid. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have rent. I favor.
Right. Yeah.
What am I say, God? No, I want to pay rent. Like,
right.
Really?
No, definitely not going to do. See, we don't call for bills.
We're not the same.
Yeah.
My son came home the other day. He was like, my boss said he wished he could be your best friend because from somewhere you ain't working, but you always got another car. I was like, to God be the glory.
Did you just testify? Do you have another car now?
No, I
was
don't.
about to say. Did I miss that? Did I miss that testimony?
I'm in that valley right now. I'm looking for it.
Right.
But I'm like, what you mean? And what you said is true. When you have these things and you're being fruitful, you don't realize you're being fruitful.
That's right.
Because I've had so many experiences where it was like after and somebody was like, oh, well, such and such and such and such, because such and such, and I saw this. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I forgot that even happened.
Exactly. I mean,
like I was just being obedient to God, or that was just something that I just felt out of
right. Those common sense just made sense.
Just do this,
right?
Because hey,
but that's exactly what it is. We don't realize, and this is really a word, especially for entrepreneurs. I want to read this real quick because Gabrielle Lewis put this up on it. She said the absence of God is not equivalent to the ignorance of God. We need to remember. We need to remember that and stay faithful. So just because you don't see God doesn't mean that God isn't there, God doesn't know, and all that good stuff. We do have to stay faithful. But what we have to understand, like truly understand, especially when it comes to faith, because faith is the evidence of things not seen. It's not the evidence of things not there. Right. And we have to distinguish the difference. Right. You know what I mean? So everything that we do produces something. Right. So if you're faithful in whatever it is, if you are faithful in sowing seeds in the spirit, then you'll produce abundantly in the spirit, right? If you sow seeds in the flesh, you're producing the flesh. Whatever you're doing, that what you do is producing something. Right. When it manifests, we don't know. We don't have control because God causes the increase. Right. But everything we do produces. So the moment that you stop doing is the moment that you stop producing. Right. And the reason why many of us, we feel like we're going in cycles. Like I can tell you stories about how you feel like you quit, and 2 months or 3 months later, this opportunity opens up, and it's like, oh, had I continued, I would have been ready for this. Right. And it's like you quit because you didn't know that opportunity was coming, but everything that you did before you quit set up that opportunity, but you didn't know that. That's what caused you to quit, and it becomes a cycle, a vicious cycle. When at some point you have to realize I have to be faithful in my afflictions. Because I know my faith is telling me that I'm getting out of here, that there is better. Because of what I'm doing, I am sowing seeds for the better. And if I'm doing that, then better will come. It's only a matter of time. That's what true faith is. True faith understands that what I do produces something. Because we are, by definition, creators. We're in the image of the Creator, that we too are also creators. Go ahead.
I think for me, I've seen a lot more like stages define your success. Like whatever stage you're in, or like this, when you get to this point, then you have reached that.
Right.
And then when you get there, you're like, this is it.
Yep.
You know, like for me, it was like graduation. Like, okay, this is cute, and my family's happy, everybody's happy, but what does this all mean?
Right.
You know, this is we worked so hard for this. Now what?
Yeah.
You know, this couldn't have been all that it is. So like even after that, it's just like every stage is like that.
Yeah.
If you're not getting your motivation, your purpose from God, like every stage is gonna be empty.
Yeah.
If you're not bringing your purpose with you.
That's right. So. And exercising your purpose everywhere that you go. That's good word, guys. That's really, really good. Okay. Yeah.
That's right. You said it.
So I want us to close our eyes. I want all of us to close our eyes because, like I said, Joseph here, he's made it. He manifests. His greatness is starting to manifest. It still hasn't fully come. It's starting to manifest. I want you to ask yourself first: do you believe God? Do you have enough faith in God's power? Do you have enough faith in God's will? Listen to this. Do you have enough faith in God's will to believe that one day your past dramas will become irrelevant? Like, that's the question. Do you have enough faith in God's will to believe that there is a point where you will wake up and it won't hurt anymore? And not because you got numb, but because you got healed. Do you have enough faith in the will of God to believe that for your life? Because that's Manasseh. The troubles, I forgot about them. Whew. Second question, do you have enough faith in God's will? Hear what I'm saying? Because it's not what you want, it's what God wants for you. Do you have enough faith in God's will to be fruitful during your season of affliction? Where you're not going to quit, you're not going to give up, and though it hurts, and though you don't even see why you're doing it, you know it's what needs to be done, so you keep going. Because of God's will for your life that He's shown to you. All right, so here's another question. What pain are you holding on to? What is that trouble that you say is too big for God to remove? What is that pain, that trouble? What's that experience that you're saying has changed me for the worse forever? Are you willing to let that go for God's glory and for your greatness? Last question. What's the one thing that you can apply now? What's the thing that you can change today that your life can be different tomorrow? What's the one change you're going to do in your life? The one thing that you feel convicted about changing? If you have your notebook, you want to write it down. What's the one thing you feel convicted about changing? Because if you don't take action, then this was a waste of time. What's that one thing where it's like, okay, God, I'm going to do this. Because of this word, I feel convicted in my spirit that I'm going to make this change. Let's pray. Father God in heaven, we're so grateful. We're so grateful that we know that Manasseh and Ephraim is coming. We're so grateful that we are able to mature in our greatness, meaning that we will one day produce in our greatness. We're asking God by your Spirit that you will help us to not lose faith, that you will help us to be faithful, that we will trust you enough to walk into our greatness. And for those of us who are experiencing greatness, that we'll be humble enough to remember that you did it all. That it was you that removed the pain. That it was you that caused us to be fruitful during our affliction. Help us, God, to bring the glory all the way back to you, because it's because of you that we were carried through. Do that for your glory, God, as we are witnesses of your power. We are witnesses of your grace. Help it that others can see your goodness through us, that they too may choose to be your children. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So, Uncle Ed, thank you guys for joining. Let me put this...
Am I late?
Yeah, it's over. It's over.
It's over?
Yeah.
No, It's over for those online.
Oh yeah, it's over for y'all online. I'm gonna put this link up.
You're right.
For those of you who want to sow into the ministry.
Since you don't want to act up. How are you?
Like I said, I'm collecting money to send Bible to Zimbabwe and to help the homeless, and there's some other things that I'm doing, Peniel, and a bunch of ministry. A lot of it I don't even advertise, but I do. So if you want to help support the ministry, here is a link so that you can give as you feel led. But you guys are dismissed. We're going to probably talk some more, eat a little bit. Peace.